And we're back on another exciting episode of Starfleet Boy, where we have a casual and informal conversation about Star Trek. And we're currently focused on Star Trek: The Original Series, and today we're doing the second pilot and the third episode of Star Trek: The Original Series. It's both those things. I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, the only one who could be on time, Trek on the Tube. Thank you.
I take long naps to be able to be on time.
You're very good. We already have some folks in the audience, so welcome to Continuum Trek and to Myth Dustards. Thank you for tuning in. So we're just gonna get started. Humbert and Emma are supposed to be here. Maybe some other folks are gonna be here, but it's you and me, buddy. We're gonna get this done.
Well, you gotta go live. This is it. This is the format now.
Right, you can't
just wait around.
Let people wait. Oh, here they come.
Yes, here we come. Yay! We're here.
Yay. All right, so technically you're on time because I did start 2 minutes early.
It is 3:00, so
it's very true.
So I'm a Badmiral yet again. Once again, I'm a Badmiral. Welcome to Emma and Humbert. Welcome.
Thank you.
I don't like that you become an admiral. Yes,
we are live. We're live.
Oh,
Live on Starfleet Boy. And we already have folks in the audience, and we already got to welcome. We already have our first question, but we're going to save that question for our non-episode.
No please.
That non-episode related
oh my God.
Section.
We've become a Comic-Con panel, no questions.
No. Doctor and Emma, did you watch the whole Star Trek Universe panel or just the little segment?
I didn't watch it. Did you?
What? No.
Ah, okay. Well, we won't talk about it.
These people don't care about modern Trek.
Damn straight.
We're the disco dissers.
Right, that's right.
Oh man. Bye. Continuum Trek just came. Continuum Trek just came to say hi, and then he has to go.
Hi. I like that we do this though. All of the content creators, like every time I start a live stream, all of them drop by and say hi, and they will tell me like I don't have time to stay, but I'm gonna leave, so I gotta leave.
Done that too.
I like that everyone takes the time to say, look, I support what you're doing.
It is really nice. That is really nice. So
Sweet.
thank you to the fellow content creators out there doing Star Trek stuff. Today we're talking about where no man has gone before, and so I did the very first summary of this new journey, but I'm really happy to hand it over to whichever of you guys. Yeah, I did a close-up thing. To whichever you guys want to do this episode summary for this one. Does anyone want to take a go at it, or should I do it?
I think as per tradition, you should do it.
Well, it's not tradition. The tradition is I always ask you guys if you want to do it.
And then we stay silent.
And then we say no.
Yeah, I forgot. Actually, later, as we progress, I might voluntold you instead of volunteer you in the future. So just be ready. All right. So.
No.
So the
wow. 7th grade math class? What the hell is this? You're gonna volunteer us?
Yesterday we had a yellow. I have a nice, pretty view of blue skies today outside my window, and yesterday we had a yellow butterfly, and today I just saw another monarch butterfly, which I don't recall there being a lot of monarchs.
This is what happens when he does the summary.
Yeah, maybe I should do the summary.
Yes,
I listened to a podcast about butterflies where they call monarchs, or like, oh, monarchs, everyone knows monarchs are the people's butterfly, but they're called monarchs.
That's really funny. So
let's talk about butterflies.
To the summary.
Oh my goodness! All right, so this is the second pilot of we have a little pop. Someone else. Yay! Father is here. The gang's all
goodness.
here.
Wow.
Father, I was just about to give the episode summary of. And look at your bridge.
Yeah, you've got a nice
you like that?
backdrop.
I love it. Oh my gosh.
That's Star Trek 6?
It is.
Not quite.
Oh no, not quite.
But
No?
I don't want to tell people where this bridge is from. You have to figure it out.
I like that. Okay, so that'll be
Huh.
that'll be part of it. Fabri
Interesting.
slows down severely when he has computer generated backgrounds, but that's okay as long as we can hear
Yeah.
him.
I'm gonna have to turn that off.
I thought he was using telepathy in
I know your mouth.
with
It's
the
really
episode.
freaky because your mouth is not moving, Father.
Right. I thought
You
he
got a
was-
nice. You got a nice bridge, and hello from Chicago. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Is this supposed to be
there.
something difficult to figure out? Is this like the bridge that they recreated and that they used for like Star Trek Voyager when Tuvok is on it?
Kind
Oh,
of.
so that's the Excelsior?
That's the bridge of the Enterprise B in Star Trek Generations, which
Oh.
it was a redress of the set they did use in Star Trek 6.
You're
Oh
absolutely
my
right.
gosh.
Very nice. I love it.
Wow.
That's really cool.
But that's why I picked it, because it's like the most like neutral. It's like, oh, it kind of looks like it could be any ship.
I love it. And also, since this is the B
Interesting.
pilot, you picked the perfect background because it's the B bridge.
The Enterprise B. Oh, there we go.
Sean
cool.
enjoyed that. Hey, Sean, don't forget to smile more. And
My goodness.
I get behind the scenes comments
Are we
about how
allowed
I
to
look
say
bored.
that to? We're allowed to say that to men, but not women.
no, this is a specific. This is an in joke because Sean was told to smile more, and he looks bored when he's on the show. So.
I was told by two different people behind the scenes that I looked bored in last time's live stream. So this time I'm going to be happy throughout. But there's Lee Kelso in this episode, so I'm already happy. I love him. I love that guy.
We have a lot of folks in the house. Oh, and we have our friend the Martian, who said something snarky about CBS, but also complimented Fathery, so he's doing his job very good. Martian, I'm going to upgrade you to a moderator in the chat. I know that's anti-logical, but I'm going to do it anyways so that you can help us with the chat. Be nice, please. Thank you.
All right. So now that we're done with the summary, let's...
No, we're not done with... So, Fathery, do you have a summary that you want to give, or should I just give the one I had?
Do you have a really short, condensed summary?
I have a here. Okay, I'll just do it. All right. So in this, this is the second pilot. Wait, Fathery, were you gonna say something?
I was gonna say I can do it if you want.
I do actually. Let's go.
Okay, so the Enterprise is out exploring the edge of the galaxy, and they pass through a galactic barrier. And when they do this, there's like this weird, crazy effect that kills some of the crew and also stimulates ESP powers. And Gary Mitchell, Kirk's longtime Starfleet buddy, and they're scared that he's going to evolve into this power-hungry god that wants to kill them all and just go completely insane. So they go to this old abandoned base on planet Delta Vega, but they plan to drop him off there before his powers become too crazy and he can't be stopped. And when they drop him off, he ends up turning against them. And another crew member, what the hell is her name?
Denners. What is it? You're talking about?
Yeah, the scientist.
Sally Kellerman,
yeah, Sally Kellerman's character. She is. Hold on, I actually have it. Yeah, Denner. I was right. Elizabeth. Wow, I can't believe I knew that.
So Denner has also developed the ESP powers and is going to team up with Gary Mitchell to go be like their own like evil god beings. But Kirk has to battle them, and he confronts her and gets her to turn to the side of good and do a cool god electrical shoot blast lightning out of the hand, kind of like the Emperor in Return of the Jedi battle. And it allows Kirk the shot he needs to defeat Gary Mitchell, and then he has to beam up to the ship without his friend. And that is where no man has gone before. I almost called it the cage.
Very, very
that was good.
That was a great summary. I'm really happy you did the summary because it was much better than what I was going to do. The only thing I want to add to it, though, is that this is the very first time we hear Space the Final Frontier. It's the very, very first instance of it.
It's the first for a
technically.
lot.
What's that?
It's the first
Oh
for
yeah,
a
it's the
lot.
first for a lot.
First
And
Kurt,
it's interesting.
First Scotty, first Sulu.
We got them all in this. It's true. It's the first. It's the birth of Star Trek. It's really cool. The birth of Star Trek. Huh. I like that. Its twin brother, the Cage, was left behind on SETI Alpha 5. Oh, I'm gonna. I'll be right back. My tea has arrived. Hang on.
Oh
guys.
my
Go ahead.
goodness.
Take over.
All
They
right.
just
Take over
lost
who?
the universe.
Take over.
Take over who? He just leave.
Sean, you're in the top position. I think you're the first officer, right?
I'm the
I
first
defer
one.
to you, Sean. Go ahead.
Oh my goodness. All right, Lee Kelso. That's what I want to talk about. That's who I love. I love Lee Kelso.
Because
I
it
don't
was
know.
so funny when he died.
I find this episode very, very good and very, very intriguing. And I think, I don't know, it's one of the best. Does this count as a pilot for Star Trek?
It does.
Yeah.
It was aired as like the third episode, so that's what.
It counts as
I-
a
No,
both.
but it was presented to the network executives as a pilot.
as a pilot. Okay.
The executives were given 3 scripts, 3 choices as to which one to make a pilot. The other scripts
Mud's
were Mud's Women,
Yep. Exactly.
and the other one was the Omega Glory.
Mhm.
And they picked this one, which was the harder one to do. The Omega Glory would have been a lot easier, and also Mud's Women. But they picked this one, and yeah, I agree with you. It's a very good pilot. But go ahead, Sean. Continue your.
You were talking about. You were giving love to Lee Kelso there.
I was giving.
Who,
love
by the
to
way, was
Kelso,
played
but-
by Paul Carr, who died in 2006. And he's been in a lot of stuff. We can talk about his career a little bit.
I wanted to give like basically like a small opening statement, I guess, about the episode. I just find it very intriguing. I'm not one to know too much about ESP, and maybe that was a big thing back then. I don't hear about it too much nowadays. But I like the idea and the concept. There's always this intriguing, like what happens if you give ultimate power, like these unlimited powers, to just a regular people? How's it going to affect them? Will they be absolutely corrupted? Will they become absolutely great people? And I think like the way they handle Gary Mitchell's kind of evolution or growth is really, really good, and it gets really terrifying at certain points. Like the moments where he stares into the camera is really good. And I like the way that I think that it's a good introduction to Kirk, the way he kind of handles it, the way in the staff meeting he has to kind of explain to the science officer the what was she called, dinner, you're saying?
Right, Denver.
He has to explain to her that, you know, he has to think of Gary Mitchell, but he also has to think of his crew first and the danger.
She's actually she might be the ship's psychologist or something, because she's not exactly the
something like
science
that. She
officer.
has like an expertise in ESP.
She was maybe like kind of like maybe like what they like riffed off of for Counselor Troy later on. Maybe she was like the ship's counselor in a way.
She was
it's
on
unclear.
the science staff, I think.
We only ever
Yeah.
see her this one time, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, they say they like recently picked her up in the episode.
Right.
Oh,
She's a
gotcha,
new
gotcha.
addition
New
to the
addition
science
to-
staff, yeah.
I
And she
should
had a
know.
very high Esper score, as it turns out. So
In the episode, you were asking about ESP or espers and things like that. Like, I actually have never heard. Like, I remember even when I first saw this episode, never hearing the term esper before this. But ESP we knew about because of like famous experiments that I remember seeing documentaries about that the Russians did with like bending spoons and like things like that, which I think now have all come to light as being mostly hoaxes, if I'm not mistaken. So
But
very
not all.
interesting. Not all, right? Well, there are still some that are unknown.
yeah,
Are
the
they-
six the
Are
60s.
they just yet to be disproven though?
Well, everything's yet to be disproven, right? But like, or proven. But like, especially, I think there was a movie with George Clooney that's really kind of funny that talked about how like even the military. Oh, I don't know why I got that response,
Oh.
but it talked about
That's a
why
good movie.
even
The Men Who
military-
Stare at Goats.
Yes,
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
And there's
it's
also
amazing how much of that movie is based on a true story. Like I thought it was all made up, and then like I started reading into that, I was like, oh no, they actually tried all of this.
They did, yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of
Watch this.
ESP stuff going on in the 60s. And there's actually a comic book, Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and they have like their own Esper squad. And that was the thing. There, people were legitimately doing research into ESP and all that stuff. So I guess the idea here is that all that research just became normal, and people were being tested for their ESP powers by this point, in the future.
It's
That's a
Babylon.
really good picture of.
It's very Babylon 5.
Babylon
Yeah.
5. Yes, that's
They have the
another good
Psychor?
example.
Yeah.
Psychor, yeah.
Hmm. Anyway, like to finish off, I think the episode is really good. I like all of the sits. I think it's very bold. It's a long episode, but the pacing is very well handled. And I enjoy it. I love it. And I think the performances are great. I really do.
That's awesome. I feel the same way about it. What about you guys? You guys really like The Cage a lot. How does this compare to The Cage?
I think the guest performances are the most memorable ones for me. Gary Lockwood, which of course most of us know from 2001, is really, like Sean said, he's really great in the part of Gary Mitchell.
This
And,
is Gary Lockwood in 2001, and we got a nice little fun fact that he was in 2001. A lot of people know that. And I I thought I saw something funny from the movie channel on Twitter where they posted a picture of what's the other actor's name in 2001 who played
Keir Duella, I think, something like that.
yeah, and then they posted that and they go, we can't tell which one's Gary Lockwood because they look so alike, but
Oh.
I can tell because I have a
I
big
can-
crush on Gary Lockwood. Who didn't have a crush on Gary Lockwood back in the day? He was very handsome.
He was in Gene Roddenberry's first TV show that he produced. He was in The Lieutenant. He played
The lieutenant, that's right.
the lieutenant. So I thought it was interesting that he came and he was a guest star in this one.
Fathery PJ and I watched. I forgot that he was in the lieutenant, but Fathery PJ and I watched this episode like live, kind of like doing a fan commentary or whatever. And we noticed like how PJ kind of pointed out, or I think I did, that like some of the speech that people use and some of the gestures and everything are starting to like be like time capsules of like this era in television. And there's a little bit of that like I don't know how to call it, like a lot of colloquialisms and things like that I noticed.
Oh,
Like what?
like when he talks about like reading that long hair stuff.
Yeah, and also like he says she was Nova, which actually kind of sounds like
She was Nova,
people
that one.
that one, and things like that. And it was very like
Yeah.
things like that were like interesting and very dated in a sense. I loved it
She
though.
was
I kind
Nova.
of ate it up.
We missed that one. One of our favorite parts was the when Spock comes out with the huge phaser rifle,
Yeah.
and the way he just immediately decides, yeah, we got to kill him.
Yeah, it's like immediately like
Yeah, we remarked about that as well. This is still the shouty Spock that we had in The Cage. Like he's very
he's kind of in
he's not,
between, yeah.
yeah. As a
almost
Spock
Worf.
fan, as a Spock fan, Emma stands for Spock. So I'm curious how you feel about this Spock versus the Spock you kind of have in your imagination, like your imaginary friend Spock.
Imaginary friend Spock. Wow.
But fun fact, I had my imaginary friend growing up was Spock, like all the way up
Aw,
until like the
that's
5th
awesome.
grade, like legit was Spock.
Mine was like Mandy Moore, so you're way cooler than I mean, of course, I love the Spock that I know and love, but I find it fun to see him like being a little bit different and just like I don't know, it's just like kind of amusing to see him come out with like his Rambo gun and be like, I'll just kill him. It doesn't matter. Just kill him.
He was very
Nothing
logical. I
matters.
think he's like more logical. He
Yeah.
must have taken a turn from his exploring humanity
Yeah, I
in
think
Star Trek
they
Discovery, and
actually-
then and then went to a more logical, like a more hard ass Spock.
He makes a comment, I think, while they're playing the chess in this episode, that like his great grandmother was human or something.
His ancestor.
So they,
His
right.
ancestor.
yeah, they changed it, you know. So he's not as human yet.
Yeah, he's not as human yet.
He becomes
that
more
reminds
human
me.
because they just take his mother then.
Isn't that interesting that like by episode 3, this was kind of being introduced to audiences, but like it actually takes place before the actual first episode, which is the one with McCoy. What's it called in the Salt Vampire?
The Man Trap.
The Man Trap. Thank you.
That's a trap.
Where no man has gone before. A man trap. It's a man's ship. It's a man's world. It's very true. Oh, this is true. We have a MASH. Wow, you're really good with the fun facts here, Q.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
It's true. She was. It's true. Very, very true.
She has a wonderful quote that I'll read to you. One of my many books that I have here is the 25th anniversary special here.
Oh my gosh, I have that book too. Could you hold it up again once more, please?
Sure.
That's cool. I remember when that came out. It's silver. You can't tell on this, but it's shiny.
Yeah, and she has a great quote. This is from Sally Kellerman. She writes, I always take credit for it being so successful because I was in the pilot. I say, yeah, I was the reason that the show took off.
That's awesome. She is the reason the show took off.
That's very Brent Spiner type humor,
right? Yeah. She was at a local comic book convention some years back, SuperCon. I had a chance to see her from far away, and she's very funny. Very funny.
Has Sir Patrick Stewart never won an Oscar?
No, Sir Patrick Stewart. Maybe he will one day, but so far, no.
Wow.
So Sally Kellerman actually is still living. She was born in 1937, and so cheers to Sally Kellerman. You can, after this pandemic's over, maybe she'll start doing the circuit again, and we'll get to see her. How old does that make her, by the way? I think it's impolite to say people's ages if it's not listed. It's not listed anywhere. No, we can just do the math. I'm terrible at math. Whatever. But just to highlight her for a second, she was working as recently as 2017 in a TV series called Difficult People, and she was in one episode of that. She was in Decker. Do you remember the TV series Decker?
Decker?
Yeah, Decker. It was like, who was that? Ted Danson, I think, right?
Oh yeah, where he was a cop.
Yeah, okay.
And Terry Farrell was on there.
It was called Decker?
I don't know, he wasn't a cop, he was a doctor.
Isn't that Becker?
Oh, I'm thinking of Becker.
Oh, yeah.
Never mind. Well, she was on a show
Okay, yeah, Becker, I remember. I don't remember Decker.
Yeah.
Decker.
Yeah, the only Beckers I know, one of them flew into the Doomsday Machine, and the other one merged with Beeger.
Right, there we go, yes.
Nice
Those
reference.
are the two Deckers that we know, yes.
And this is her. Is this her only Star Trek? Did she come? Because a lot of people come back in TNG.
This is her only Star Trek.
Yeah.
Very cool. And so you said you met her at the convention, or just saw her?
I saw her. I didn't meet her.
Oh, okay.
No. I was reading in the. This is the other book I have here, which Sahel you also have.
I do have that one as well. It's true.
This book says that there's actually an unaired version of this pilot. There's an aired version and an unaired version.
They've released that though.
That's not the one that's. Is that the one that's on? That's not on CBS All Access.
No, but it's on the physical media.
It's on the DVD.
The DVDs and the Blu-rays have that as like the alternative version. Yeah, it's weird because it has a different opening. It has a different space. The Final Frontier, where like it's worded very differently, and the rest of the episode's kind of edited a little differently.
Was that this memo? Did that have anything to do with this memo that I found here? I'm going to show you guys. Here we go. Let's see if this works. Do you guys see that?
Oh yeah, that's good.
Here, let me see. Let's go in here. So it says it's to Gene Roddenberry from John Black and Gene. Think the narration needs more drama. Follow an example of what I mean, and then he writes in at about 15 to 17 seconds. Space, the final frontier, endless, silent, waiting. This is the story of the United Spaceship Enterprise. Its mission, a 5-year patrol of the galaxy to seek out and contact all alien life, to explore, to travel the vast galaxy where no man has gone before. A Star Trek.
A Star Trek.
Wow,
It's a Star Trek.
that should be the intro to Starfleet Play.
It should be. I just thought that was really funny. I'm glad it didn't turn out that way.
patrolling?
The galaxy, they're patrolling.
Patrolling?
It was very different. It wasn't a mission. It was a patrol instead. I do like the. I do love. I mean, it is
That makes a lot of
iconic.
sense, actually, because so Star Trek is called Star Trek in Canada now. In Quebec, it's called Star Trek. They don't translate it, but the original series, when it came out, they translated the title because they French everything, and they called it La Patrouille du Cosmos, which is the Cosmos Patrol.
Ooh, I like that.
And well, they changed it after, and now even the original series is not called that. They call it the Star Trek, the original series, right? But that's what it was called when it first came out here.
Huh.
Nice.
Oh, that's cool. The Cosmos Patrol.
Mythbusters, I found it on Google. But there's a really cool, and I can't remember the name of the handle of the Star Trek. I think it's called like the Federation Papers or Documents or Star Trek Documents or something like that. That posts a ton of this kind of stuff on Twitter, so you can actually check it out. I'll try to find it and link to them.
You should also mention
Sick.
Larry Nemeczek has the Trek Files podcast where they dig up a lot of like old memos and stuff. A lot of stuff that no one has ever seen before. My good friend Larry has gone through and dug up.
Larry Nemeczek is awesome. We actually changed the time of the show from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. so that we don't interfere with his live podcast, live broadcast, which goes on at 1 p.m.
Life
Eastern
Support
Standard
Live.
Time. Yeah, Live Support Live, which has been really cool.
Well,
And
real
he's been on Trek Chat. Trek on the Tube had like what I think is like the biggest coup in the world, and had Larry Nemeczek on. And that was I was honored to be your sidekick on that episode, Sean. So thank you. It was really cool.
That was a great conversation.
Great
We'll start having
conversation.
him back at some point.
Have you had Larry Nemeczek on?
No, but like I've talked to him. Like I actually met him in Vegas.
Oh, how cool! Yeah, he's Dr. Trek, Trekland Tuesdays, guys. Every Tuesday on Facebook, and I think now it's on YouTube too. I don't know, but
I watch
it's also
him on YouTube.
on Instagram. I follow him on Instagram. Larry Nemeczek is basically who we also referred to throughout our entire Star Trek TNG discussion series for trivia and knowledge and things like that. So it was really awesome. We called it the book, his book.
He's slowly becoming one of us because he interacts like he's in everyone's DMs now. I know that he talks to Father, he talks to Nick, talks to me. He's slowly becoming part of this online YouTube community that we have. So
Yeah. He just kicked off his own YouTube channel.
Very cool. I think it's been up for a while because I saw on his
He just
YouTube
started
channel, doing stuff more.
Yeah.
But there's a really cool thing from like 11 years ago, or maybe not that long ago, but Mike McMahon meeting Larry Nemeczek at his booth. And it's like a young Mike McMahon when he first wrote that book.
I have to see that.
Yeah, the TNG Season 8 book, and he's telling him about it, and it's very, very cool. There's a lot of gems on his YouTube channel. He's been we talked about who like some of the oldest YouTubers are, obviously Trek Yards, but Larry Nemeczek, I think his YouTube channel is like 15 or something years old. It's like, I might be exaggerating, but it's been up there for a while. We have a nice little discussion going on in the chat. I promise we'll get to you, but I just want to shout out and say welcome to Shaka Apocalypse. Shaka De Silva is the actor who played Burley Feely on Star Trek Picard, and I agree. Bring back Burley Feely. Like he died in episode 2. He was killed by F8, the android that went crazy on Utopia Planitia. So, well, I'm so glad you're in our stream. Welcome, Shaka.
Also, when the walls fell.
Shaka, when the walls fell. It's true. It's true. It's true.
Let me ask you
Go
guys
ahead.
a quick question. What did you guys think of the? Because this is now the second Doctor that we see on
Yes.
Star Trek.
Dr. Piper.
Dr. Piper. What do you guys think of? I thought he was the least successful of the three.
Yeah.
Bones is obviously the Doctor, but
They gave him less to
They don't
do.
give him much.
Yeah. There's
But
like
I
that
don't-
one moment. He has
Mhm.
that one like little moment with after Gary Mitchell has made his escape, and Kelso is dead, and he's getting Kirk up off the floor, and I think he's telling him, yeah, we got to go back to the Enterprise, and then like it's basically like nuke it from orbit, like in Aliens. Kirk is like no, like I got to go confront him, and he calls the Doctor by his first name. He calls him Mark.
Mark.
Yeah, so I think there was still the plan, and obviously, if you've seen The Cage, you know it was there. But there's still the plan to have like that captain have like that friendship with this older Doctor who might be like his drinking buddy that we can kind of like get inside the captain's head, and he might have like these heart-to-heart conversations with his old friend that he can't really have with anyone else on the ship. I think that was still part of the plan, but yeah, they just this episode in particular did not spend a lot of time with the Doctor role. That what you think it probably would have done more, but you have like this major medical condition where like this guy's brain is evolving. You'd think like they would have cool stuff built into that for the Doctor to do, but they didn't give him much.
Well, they focused a lot. They focused a lot on the psychologist, or I forget what it was. She's like she's the doctor of this episode specifically, even though he's chief medical. I don't know if it's said that he's chief medical, but you know we understand that he's like the lead doctor on this ship. But they don't give him much to do. He doesn't seem like a bad doctor or a bad character. It's just that doesn't have room to grow, I suppose.
Yeah, I was one of the things that surprised me about this pilot is that I think the strength of it really rides on the two guest stars. Shatner, of course, is establishes Kirk very well in the pilot. But I would think that a pilot would be showing the network executives, okay, this is what a typical episode would be like, and these are the characters you're going to deal with. But really, two of the major characters in this episode you're never going to see again. And those end up being the two strongest performers. I mean, Kellerman and this guy Lockwood, but it does establish Kirk really well. And one of the books I was reading, he mentioned to Roddenberry because they watched the original pilot together, The Cage, and it was Shatner's idea to lighten up the captain a bit, that he's not so. So serious and
yeah, I really compare him to what's the name of the captain from the Master and Commander series?
Horatio. No. That's
I know Captain Kirk is compared to Horatio Hornblower,
Right.
but I think maybe it's because of Russell Crowe's performance. But I really
Yes.
think of Captain Kirk to be more like that kind of captain.
I forgot his name.
I could see him hopping on the bow of a ship, like on a stormy day, like telling the navigator, telling the the helmsman to turn hard to port and fire cannons and all that stuff, and just smiling the whole time through it. Like I could just totally see.
Yeah, he's
Captain
not
Kirk
the
being that
joyless
way.
Pike. He's a guy. He loves being a captain.
He really loves it, and he's smiley and happy, and I love that there was like there were some improvements like in terms of like the sentiment of the characters too. I think like barring that, I just thought it was interesting that this pilot didn't have like some of those weird like moments of like like, well, it had other weird moments, but there wasn't the whole thing of like I'm getting used to women being on the bridge thing. Women felt very comfortable on the bridge already here. There was the weird thing of like for some reason, and I forget her name at the moment, the character's name. Yeoman Smith holds on to, to Gary Mitchell when they're going through the Great Barrier, and like
The girlfriend, remember?
he
Oh,
like
yeah.
he like grabs her and holds on to her hand
Yeah, I was
while
like,
they're
is
going
that
through
his
the Great Barrier.
girlfriend?
I feel like they're dating, right?
Right. See,
Oh,
you
they're
see
not- oh,
why
they're very close.
they're
Yeah,
not
they're very
dating.
close.
I don't think they're dating. See, I
No.
this is my thing about Seven of Nine and Rafi. Not to go into Star Trek Picard for too long here, but like I think
The
future
action is
people are
different.
just touchy in a different way than we are. I think they're just very like they like to hold hands
No, but
and like and
Just
hug
to be-
each
just to be
other. And
comfortable with each other, right? Like they're very close friends and they're comfortable with each other, and like they're in a stressed out moment, so they anyway. The
They-
Rafi
By the way,
Seven is
on a-
Rafi and Seven is different. They specifically made that moment for a purpose.
Captain Jack Aubrey, thank you. Oh my gosh,
There
Ruben,
we
thank
go.
you for being in the chat here today. And there's a lot of other cool answers he's been giving, like all the Academy Award winners that have been on Star Trek, which is really amazing, or nominees and things like that. So we'll get to all that stuff. But yeah, Captain Jack Aubrey. But like I do, all joking aside, I kind of like personally would like there to be an exploration, a romantic possibly exploration of Seven of Nine and Rafi in season 2 of Star Trek Picard.
I think we're getting that.
I think we are. It's gonna happen. It's true. But going back to this episode, the other thing that I thought was interesting was like going back to Captain Kirk for a second was how Gary Mitchell describes him as like a stack of books and legs. Like you forget like how and that's by the way another colloquialistic like another like like who says a stack of book and you were a stack of book and legs in the academy.
That's not how we see him presented in the in the Kelvin timeline. So it was kind of a different idea. I think a lot of people took away like maybe Kirk used to be like this more bookish type guy when he was young and got bullied by Finnegan, and then at some point
he did right
came
and
out
he
of the
transforms
shell.
he glows up as they say.
The cool thing about that is remember when he tells him like Kirk was his teacher and how like he needed to like distract this guy, and he says like that pretty little lab technician or pretty little lab blonde that he threw his way, and Kirk is like like what do you mean you were behind that? I almost married her. So
Carol Marcus.
I like to think of that as possibly being Carol Marcus.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
very
I
cool.
thought the
Nice
same
cut.
thing.
Nice little reference there.
If I can say something about like the hand holding on the bridge before we move on too much from that, Roddenberry actually regretted that after they did this, and there's a letter or something that he would give to like new writers coming on to season 1 of Star Trek after they start production, where he tells them like, you don't like have these people like hold hands on the bridge when something scary is happening. You want to treat people like how would they behave if they were in like the U.S. Navy on a ship off the coast of Vietnam right now and some high stakes stuff was going on. They would be like serious and professional. You want to have like that mindset. And he actually said like, yeah, we messed up when we did that hand holding thing.
Right on.
That's interesting. Yeah.
That
Because
is
he was a
interesting.
military man, right? Gene Roddenberry.
Yeah, he was in World War II.
Right. And then he was a cop. Yeah.
Yeah, he flew bombers in the Pacific.
Right.
Shout out to Gene Roddenberry, the creator, who we didn't shout out in our Cage discussion, and I was someone let me know that. So shout out to Gene Roddenberry, the great bird of the galaxy.
Yeah.
Every time we review an episode of Star Trek, I think the shout out to Gene Roddenberry is kind of implied.
It is. I agree.
I mean,
True enough. True enough.
The writer of this episode, also we should shout them out, Samuel A. Peoples, who did a great job at this pilot. I mean, I really loved it. And the director, I didn't get a chance to research any of what he did. I guess we could look it up now, but James Goldstone was the director of this episode.
Samuel A. Peebles also wrote the first episode of the animated series, Beyond Our Furthest Star.
That's right.
Which is kind of like a similar title, like Beyond Our Furthest Star and Where No Man Has Gone Before. They're both kind of like the same, like, yes, we're like out there further away than anything.
He also wrote. He also did writing for the Flash Gordon TV series from 1979, Star Trek II. He has a uncredited writing on that one. He did, as you said, the animated series. And the only other thing that I noticed on here that I know, I think, is although there's a cool episode called Space Academy. I wonder what that was. A cool show called Space Academy that he wrote for. So he seems to like to do science fiction.
He's a sci-fi writer, if I'm not mistaken.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I just pulled up James Goldstone, and he's famous for having directed as recent. Let's see, nothing that I know. Oh man, but he did do this, and what are little girls made of is the other episode that he directs of Star Trek: The Original Series.
Which is that the Charlie X episode?
No, that's the one with the androids and it had Lurch from the Addams Family.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, I wanna give a story from.
Is that the one where Kirk holds the
yes.
appropriate rock?
Yeah.
But also the character's name is Rock, I think, the one that Lurch plays.
Right. I have another.
There's a great Twitter account, by the way, for the Rock. Just saying.
For the actual Rock?
Yeah, it's the
Rock
penis.
from Star Trek?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, like the Rock penis, like the one. Yeah, I will.
You have to send that to me. That's amazing. I have another book I want to share, and it's got a great story about the pilot. So, Hal, I think you also have this book.
No,
this
I
might
don't
be
have
your
that one.
book. Yeah, you don't.
That I think that's my book. Actually,
He doesn't have it anymore.
I don't have it.
I have it. Yes.
You're welcome to keep it. It's fine.
This is from the B. Dalton days.
Yes. Oh, I remember B. Dalton books. Oh my gosh.
Yes. Gene Roddenberry, he showed, in order to get people excited for Star Trek, he showed the pilot that that we're reviewing at a convention. And it says here that he was going to show it. He showed it at the science fiction convention in Cleveland. And Roddenberry got really upset because there was one guy who was talking too loud. And he said, "You over there, you got to shut up and be quiet." And it turned out that was Isaac Asimov.
What?
And everybody kind of turned around to Gene Roddenberry and they're like, "They're going to kill you. That's Isaac Asimov." And Isaac Asimov said, No, he's right. He's right. I'm going to quiet down."
Wow.
And Isaac Asimov ended up being a really big fan of the pilot that was shown, and was a supporter of the show when it aired.
We have a computer-generated question, which is, which pilot is better? Audience, let us know which pilot you like better. And I think I will say this one as my answer.
I still say the Cage.
The
My money's on the
Cage.
Cage.
Yeah, I thought the Cage was. I like. I feel like I just gave you more things to think about. It's more complex.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead.
What do you think, Father and Sean? Quiet there with your.
I think Where No Man Has Gone Before. I do enjoy both of them. The Cage was never like edited for TV, so it would have been like trimmed down. I think like the cut that we all see of it's like a little meandering, and I kind of wish they would trim the fat off of it, which they would have done if it had aired in the original run. But I also, in comparison, the characters, I think what they're doing with Pike is interesting, but overall the characters are a little bland compared to what we get in Where No Man Has Gone Before. I love the Kirk-Spock dynamic that is set up as early as in this episode. And even just seeing like Scotty and Sulu there, even though they're kind of different from the characters they will become.
They're just referred to on IMDb as Sulu and Scott. They're not even like, they don't even have like anything yet. So
but
it's
they
interesting.
still have like that diversity. That's still like, this guy has a Scottish accent. This guy is Asian, so it had more of that.
We even have like Alden, who's brown, black, so there's a lot more diversity on this show. You're absolutely right.
And Gary Mitchell, the idea of like having to battle like your long-term friend, that's a more like human story. That's a little bit more kind of instantly easy to connect to on an emotional level, which it's very different from the more kind of hypothetical idea of Talos 4 and being imprisoned, but you get to like explore fantasies, but none of it's real. That's a kind of a headier idea. I still like it, but it's like Where No Man Has Gone Before is just like more entertaining and I would say just as cerebral, but you get to the added bonus of like the action and the drama.
We were noticing how crazy the bridge scene was when they were going through the Great Barrier. Like no, but like I actually
It's
found
intense.
myself kind of like falling into it again. Like that's the other thing. Like, and this is like
I would have held your hand.
Thank you. All those exploding consoles would have frightened
Yeah, I
me.
mean,
So
come on.
I appreciate
Those are
it.
deadly. Those are deadly AF. Star Trek.
They really are. Those,
We would have thrown ourselves to the ground together.
we don't get the rocks yet. We don't get the rocks like we do later, right? We didn't get rocks yet
The rocks
on the
that
bridge.
kill Rachel Garrett.
Right. It's true. I don't know why Starfleet has rocks inside the walls of their ships, but whenever the walls explode, rocks fly out. It's like it's like the funniest thing. It's like we need to weigh this down. Put some rocks in there. We need to reinforce it.
Voyager's gel packs, they had rocks.
That would have been hilarious if every time the Voyager was damaged, like slime splattered on people.
Oh, that would have made the show so much better.
Yeah. No criticism for putting slime on things at a time. No.
Wow, we got an LOL from the audience. Thank you.
Nickelodeon, like Nickelodeon in the 90s. Nickelodeon in the 90s, people were just getting
that's
slimed constantly.
Oh yeah.
I was trying.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go.
I was just gonna say I prefer this one too. I prefer this pilot as well. I know the cage is not what I'm gonna describe it as, but it feels kind of like one of those montage episodes where I know it's not that, but I don't like the episodes where they show you like kind of clip shows of this and that, and somehow the fact that they're going from like, oh, there's the fight sequence here and the Orion slave girl sequence here, it kind of feels like a bit of a montage thing, and I like the cage. It's just that I prefer this thing. It's kind of like a more straightforward story, and I think that like all of the characters are much more compelling in this, and I really like Gary Mitchell, and I'm saddened by the fact, like I'm saddened by what happened to him and how he changed, and you really feel like, oh my god, I wish we could like kind of bring him back and help him realize what's going on. So yeah, I prefer this one. Maybe it has to do with I didn't see the original series in order originally. As a kid, I would watch The Next Generation and Voyager, and then we would gradually kind of, my mother would be like, oh, well, there's this too, this is old, but we can watch that. And so I watched some of it. And so I think maybe I got used to Kirk and the characters from that. So by the time I came around to watch The Cage, it was like, there's only Spock, right? And everyone else is different. Maybe I just wasn't as invested.
Let me ask you guys oh, go ahead.
When does the Where No Man Has Gone Before tie itself into the cage again? I don't
Sorry.
remember.
What?
It
Hey,
says,
they have
asking
the same uniforms.
oh, I guess yeah, but
Yeah,
isn't the phaser rifle? I'm not sure. We'll get
No,
some.
they have the phaser cannon in the cage, but the
Right.
rifle only appears on screen in Where No Man Has Gone Before.
Oh, the continuity is kept, is I think what he's referring to in
Oh,
general,
yeah.
like over. Yeah, like
Yeah,
that's
because of
true.
the
That's very
menagerie.
true.
Later, when we get to the menagerie, where they
Menagerie,
bring
yeah, exactly.
that stuff back, which that was
100%.
actually the first episode of the original series that I saw was the menagerie part 1. So in a way, I kind of did still start off with Captain Pike.
There's a lot of Star Trek episodes that you. I mean, I was blown away when I realized that the Man Trap was the first episode that ever aired of Star Trek,
So
because
cool releasing that as the first episode.
well, it's just like, yeah, I didn't even like think about it, but I feel like you could have
You
done
know
that
why?
with a lot of episodes. No, I don't know why actually.
Because they thought that was the most mainstream one for general audiences because it has a very clear villain monster, a literal monster, and the hero is the hero. There's a clearly identified monster, and they kill the monster at the end. And they thought that was going to seem the least weird compared to like all these other like stuff that was maybe like too weird for your average Joe.
But in hindsight, it's not really just a villain monster. It's like, I know we're talking about a different episode now, but it's a poor creature that's the last creature of its species, and
Yeah.
you're very sympathetic to its cause. You know, it's killing people, but it's not just a thing that's out to get you, I guess.
Yeah, it's sympathetic, the creature. Yeah.
Daniel CEO says the moment where Gary's eyes go back to their natural color and he says Jim is so touching. You really feel that what he's going through, and we did actually when we watched it live together. I was like super moved by that moment too. And then Spock's like, "Kill him now!" Like, he's just like, "This is our chance. He'll never be a better Jedi."
He'll never be. That raises a good point. Something I was thinking about is just if we could just discuss for a little bit what exactly is happening to Gary Mitchell, because I mean, they go through this barrier, right? And I guess if you have high ESP,
was it the barrier or the device that was causing the thing that they beamed aboard? It starts transmitting, and the combination of that with the barrier, is that what does it?
No, I thought it was going through the barrier.
Yeah.
Oh.
The thing that they beam on, it's just like the black box. It's just like all like the logs and stuff.
Right.
There was another ship. There was another ship that went through this, right? Is that what they were doing? There was
a previous ship.
Right.
Yeah, that previous ship, curiously enough, shows up in a novel. It's a Next Generation novel that's about the Stargazer. Believe it or not, Picard takes command of the Stargazer going through that barrier in that book, which is interesting. And they have to deal with a very similar situation as we see in this episode. But I wanted to ask what you guys thought about. I mean, I guess this is, I mean, in essence, this is just some weird space disease, right? I mean, you go through this barrier, and if you have whatever high ESP scores, it makes you go crazy, right? Because like the commenter said, when Gary's eyes go back to normal, and he implores, Jim, you get a sense that that's the real Gary Mitchell again. The Gary Mitchell that you see when he's consumed by the whatever, the crystal eyes or whatever, that's not really Gary Mitchell. That's sort of something else, right? Or am I mistaken?
There's definitely, it's unknown, but I felt my interpretation was definitely that there was some kind of like entity which is only able to have a coexist with like someone with a high Esper rating, right? Because of whatever reason that makes them more compatible with this entity, and so it definitely has taken over. But like also there's a degree of like, I wonder what it would be like if this entity merged with, like, let's say a Romulan or a Vulcan or a Klingon or whoever, which, by the way, later on we know that Vulcans are very high in the Esper number.
That's true,
and so I'm surprised that Spock was completely untouched. His human side may have saved,
that great ancestor.
Whatever the reason, obviously,
he's a very close ancestor.
Whatever it was, we don't know, but I like to think of it as like, obviously we know there's not like quite the same kind of Great Barrier that is depicted in Star Trek, like, when you leave the galaxy. Well, that's going to the center.
I thought that's what you were gonna say.
Yeah, there is a Great Barrier at the center of the galaxy. There is a Great Barrier apparently on the outside on the outside of the galaxy as well. So you encounter a Great Barrier. There is in fact an end to like a kind of field or gravitational pull, like that happens. As a matter of fact, really cool thing, the Voyager spacecraft left our solar system's influence not too long ago. Like it actually
passed the Oort cloud,
the Oort cloud, and it just like passed through this barrier, if you will. But
that's true.
I did think there were a lot of interesting similarities, and I really don't know enough about like the behind the scenes of the writing or the making of Star Trek V, and I guess I have to revisit, like the commentaries and everything like that. But I personally saw a lot of connections between this and Star Trek V, just thematically, in terms of like, and even using things like a barrier to reach this like place where, you encounter God, if you will, and stuff like that. And then as Father may have pointed out, this was like the start of Gene Roddenberry's like kind of almost an obsession of like, you know, God versus man, you know, which is,
Yeah.
or human, you know,
A
which
big
is something that's
theme
prevalent throughout Star Trek.
in Star Trek, specifically like Roddenberry Star Trek. Like he would go on, you know, to invent Q in the Next Generation, but yeah, he liked putting his very human characters up against very godlike characters.
You know, that the episode with where Riker is tempted and is granted Q-like powers. I often think, in comparing it to this episode, that Next Generation episode would have made an interesting pilot as well, because Riker, through granting the wishes to the crew, you get to know a lot about the crew through the wishes in a way. You know, that's actually an episode that kind of showcases each of the supporting cast really well. And I was, you know, I'm curious, you know, it would have been interesting if somehow Gary Mitchell, in being granted these powers in this episode, if somehow he could have interacted more with the supporting crew. I mean, I know they didn't know who was going to be the supporting cast, but it would have been interesting to have seen him interact with more of the crew. I know that he does. There's a, forget who's the one that gets strangled by the.
That was
cables?
Kelso, that's Sean's
Kelso.
favorite.
Okay, yes. Again, and interesting that, you know, they go through the trouble of introducing Kelso, and then they kill him. I mean, it's an interesting pilot where
he's the first
really,
red shirt. He's a gold shirt. The,
He's a gold shirt.
very first gold shirt.
very
There's a lot of buzz going on about Q and the powers that you gather, and like Gary Mitchell and everything, and I want to just kind of highlight some of these comments. So turning into a Q-like being when he's not supposed to, something akin to Barkley when he becomes super smart in that I feel like that's very true. Like there was a kind of a connection. It says here that in a novel that explains that Trelane had a confrontation with Uncle Q and overtook him, disincorporating Q so his metaphysical presence was drifting on the edge of the galaxy. And when the Enterprise goes through the barrier, Q's powers get transferred into Mitchell. Wouldn't that be an interesting... Is that really what's implied in that novel?
Trelane is revealed to be he's revealed to be part of the Continuum. That's, I think the name of the novel is the Q Continuum, or is that Q Squared?
I vaguely remember...
Yeah, I think it might be Q Squared, or the Q
Squared or something like
Q
that.
Squared, yeah.
Peter David, right? That was the Peter David book.
Yeah, Peter David's the king, man. I love Peter David.
That's very interesting. Absolute power does corrupt. Absolutely, apparently, it's true. You have absolute power. Yes. What was that? What was that little laugh there? Did I say something?
No, Kirk,
it's
the
Kirk,
two Kirks are fighting here. So
no, it's like his son. It's like Kirk.
Oh,
Kirk. Yeah. He's proud of his son.
I love that you guys have the Kirk toes. Do you have?
By the way, I do want to spotlight this Kirk figure, because this is the Kirk scene in the episode in the correct.
Oh yeah, he's got the
tunic.
right.
He also has forehead
from,
wrinkles.
Playmates, and that actually came with the shuttlecraft, vehicle that they put out in 1996 or 7 or something like that.
Very, very nice. All right, so any other thoughts, audience, or you guys? We have a couple of computer-generated questions that we didn't go gay through.
You didn't gaze through them? Let's gaze through them now.
I think I'm the only one who gazed through.
Yes. Please gaze through them. So
Boldly gay, where no one has gayed before.
What did you like or dislike more about this episode versus the Cage? We kind of got this answer from Sean and Fathery. What I will say is just overall to me, and it, you know, this is just like it's just because I love Star Trek and I know it, you know, the original series was like what I watched as a kid. So this just feels like home, like it feels like the Star Trek that I know and I love. And for me, like the Cage is interesting, but it does feel like that other road, you know, I always say the road not taken. And so it's cool, but it's not this, you know, so like that's my answer on that one.
Not my trick.
Say that. I didn't say that. I just said it just doesn't feel the same. But you're right. What about you guys? You guys like the Cage better, so what did you like?
Well,
I think I said a lot. I just feel like there's more to think about in the cage, and it's more mysterious or cerebral, like what?
Exactly what the executives didn't want.
Yeah, I like the slower pace, and I just thought it was very interesting, like psychologically. And there's, I don't know, like we spent like, you know, hours afterwards talking about that episode, where I don't think we did with this episode.
Yeah, this episode's
Yeah.
very straightforward, and
We talked
you know,
only
it
about an hour
does-
on the last episode in the same. Oh,
Well,
you guys
we,
personally.
like,
Oh, I
after
see
it,
what
yeah.
you're saying. I was like,
Yeah,
what are you talking about? We're talking about Justice League.
yeah, we discussed our discussion in the cage went on for several hours, and then for this one, I mean, it's like what I guess it is made more for a general audience, like everybody says. I mean, you have the obligatory, fist fight. Kirk loses half his shirt. I mean,
Yeah.
you see the things that will become standard Trek tropes in the show, which of course, I'm not saying I don't love them. I do love them, but there is a quality to the cage that I feel like it would have been a more intelligent show. Not that Star Trek's not intelligent, but just written to a higher. You wouldn't need to have the fist fight every episode. You wouldn't need to have Kirk
There's a fight.
betting the girl in every episode.
I know you're a disco disser, but I gotta say, you'd be getting that fulfillment from Star Trek Discovery, but even more from Strange New Worlds. I feel like they are.
Oh, is Jeffrey Hunter coming back?
No, but also, interestingly enough, Jeffrey Hunter refused to come back. They actually did offer him.
That's right. He did not like Kirk. He did not like
the role of Kirk, and he refused it. And who else was the contender for Kirk? I forget
Jack
now.
Lord.
Who was Jack Lord again? I'm blanking.
Hawaii Five-0.
Oh, yes. Okay. Very interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know who that is. I'm too young.
Thoughts on
Well, for
William
one, going back to the computer generated questions, I for one am so happy William Shatner landed this role, because to me, there is a component of like humor when you think about some of the things, and what I found is that like you watch Star Trek and you don't really, I didn't think anything strange about William Shatner's performance. I just accepted it 100% when I was a kid. Later on, when you see comedians doing impressions and like the jokes and like just all the things, and even Shatner himself, I think that like added a new layer to this. But just purely on performance and like everything else, like I think Shatner kills it, and I'm a real big fan of his performance style, his like everything, like his voice cadences, like everything. I really admire it, and I think that's just him. He's unique. Like I've seen many of his roles, and he doesn't quite like do what he does with Kirk, but there is still that like very I think of him like Sean Connery, where it's like when you watch Sean Connery perform, you really think you're watching like someone unique, even in all his roles. Like there's like that Sean Connery ness that comes through, and I feel like Shatner is a similar kind of performer. So I love his performance, and I think it's superior to Jeffrey Hunter's performance in The Cage, if we're gonna talk between the two.
The thing is, sometimes you watch a TV show, you watch a movie, and there's a character on the show, the way they act, the way they, I don't know, the way they emote and the way they speak, you're like, that this doesn't exist. No one is really like that in real life. But then you have people like Avery Brooks. In real life, he's fucking weird, right? He's just
I love it.
I love it.
He's amazing.
If you think Disco is weird, you need to see Avery Brooks in real life, because he's just so much weirder. And
So Avery
I love
Brooks
it.
is
Avery Brooks is like a jazz improv song in real life.
Yes,
It's just
I know.
the best thing
He's
I've ever
amazing,
seen.
man.
his life is an
I love
improv
him.
song.
I love that we went to Avery Brooks. That's funny.
He's amazing, right? And so you're like, okay, so some people are very unique and very particular, very peculiar in real life. And so like, why couldn't there be this guy, this captain like this, that maybe over emotes or overacts as part of his deal of being captain, right? Like this is part of how he leads. He's like an actor. Like Kirk is an actor as well as being a captain.
I don't feel like anyone else is like really in on the joke though, that he's kind of weird. I feel like with other characters that are pretty weird, like every Jeff Goldblum character is pretty weird, and other people are like, yeah, this guy's a bit weird. But like everyone else around him plays it kind of straight. So
I've been
this
watching
makes it odd.
I've been watching clips of Spencer for Hire and also clips of Hawk, just because I miss Avery Brooks being on TV so much.
I
And
love
like
that show so much.
like it's so good. So good shout out to Avery Brooks. I also just want to point out
Kirk interacting with the Grandmaster.
with the Grandmaster.
Yeah.
So good.
Oh,
That would
like,
be an amazing thing.
He wouldn't want to put up with any of that guy's bullshit. Like it'd be interesting. He'd be like, "All right, now you've had your fun. I want my crew back."
we don't have the complete cast yet in this episode. We are missing Nichelle Nichols. I guess she was cast later.
Yeah.
Does she show up in the Man Trap? I forget.
No.
Is it?
Yes. She's in the.
Oh,
Man.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I thought you meant this
That's
one.
when Spock tells her like Vulcan has no moons.
The opening shot of the Man Trap is Uhura and Spock, I think.
It's not the
is
opening, but it's close to it. The opening.
Oh no,
shot
they open on the surface.
when they beam down, and that guy's
then they cut to like an alien and a black woman on a bridge. It's pretty bold.
Yeah.
Very, very bold indeed. Very nice. So just real quick, another computer generated question here is
So
where do we go?
we were looking at the comment about us.
Yeah.
Star Trek with Christopher Walken.
Walken.
Sounds great.
Walk and play.
You gotta put the show
Yes. Yes. I completely agree with that comment.
Who just did that Christopher Walken impression? Was that Sean? Can you do it again? I just want to
Really?
Do you-
Everyone can do Christopher Walken.
say there's a coffee in that nebula.
There must be coffee in that nebula.
Have you guys seen The Dead Zone, by the way?
I love the Dead Zone.
We recently rewatched it on, what was it, Amazon?
Yeah, I think it's on Amazon.
It's on Amazon. That's a
Okay.
fabulous performance.
That's so good, Max.
Just as an aside. But
Walken could play Kirk.
Yep.
Walken might have had a chance at playing Han Solo in Star Wars, if I'm not mistaken. He auditioned for that role.
Wow.
yeah,
That would have been strange.
Yeah,
that would have been awesome.
Luke.
This Wookiee here. What is this? Millennium Falcon. Come,
Where do we-
Chewbacca.
Where do we go from here? Is the
What's a
greatest?
Patek?
What's up?
Oh boy, this is deteriorating quickly. I just before we sign out, I want to just say a day in the life of Trek on the Tube. We're a part of this. He's contributing to the film that I just blanked. Trek on the Tube. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing.
Oh my goodness. Ridley Scott is producing.
That's it. Thank you.
That is directed by someone, and I should know his name. I should know the guy's name. I'm terrible. But there's a thing that they did in 2010 where they compiled a day in the life of many people,
Which I saw in 2010, which was very cool.
And so they released it at some film festival, and so it's a movie that documents kind of like how it is to live in this decade. And so they're doing it again today. Like all of these people are participating. We're all filming our lives on July 25th, 2020, and then you send in your kind of your footage, and they might select it to be as part of the movie A Day in the Life, 2020. So it's
Very cool.
It's interesting. Maybe they
In
won't.
addition to that, you're gonna
They're gonna
put
have so many.
But you're gonna put your day movie up on your channel or something? Is that how it's gonna work? Or
Maybe I'll do
Oh,
that.
cool,
Maybe I'll
cool.
do it as like a special. And it's kind of unrelated to. Well, I mean, it's related to Star Trek in the sense that my day kind of revolves around it. I go to work, I come home, I take a nap, I talk about Star Trek. So maybe I can.
That's a good life. Wow. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
like the
nice.
napping part, especially.
I would take the workout. I would
Yeah.
take nap Star Trek. That would be good.
Nap and Star Trek. Sounds good. I like that.
This episode is also the third episode of the series, but we're not gonna do it. We're gonna skip it. But from now on, we're gonna go in release order, which is how Trek on the Tube is also doing his reviews of the original series, so you can catch them on there. Fathery also did an episode of The Cage and versus this episode on his channel, so we'll put a link to that video in the description, right, Fathery?
Oh yeah, I did that like 4 years ago, but
Yeah,
yeah,
pretty cool.
still available. I actually listened to it. I was like, this is good. We should have our friend Matt, Dave's brother. We should have had him on more. He's really good at this, talking about Star Trek.
Right on. Nice. Maybe you'll reconnect with Matt on that. I just want to really quickly, our database boy works hard to input these. So I just want to say, like, William Shatner was in this episode. Leonard Nimoy was in this episode. Of course, we had George Takei, who's super famous as George Takei, basically, which is amazing. Who was in this episode as Sulu. James Doohan. By the way, William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy, and James Doohan are all Canadian-born, Sean. So
Leonard Nimoy is from Boston.
Oh, Boston. You're right. Sorry. So Shatner and Doohan. Yeah, Doohan was born in Vancouver, BC.
Okay.
And he lived in Redmond, Washington. I didn't realize the whole time I was living in Seattle, Redmond's like the next city over, that James Doohan lived and died
Ruben
in
saying
Redmond,
no one is
Washington.
perfect. You don't offend me, sir. I'm not Canadian.
We didn't talk much about Lloyd Haynes, who played Alden, but we did mention him, who was in this episode. And then there's Andrea Drum plays Yeoman Smith. And then we know Lee Kelso, who is pretty cool, by the way. It's a shame that he died in the episode, was played by Paul Carr. We talked about the Doctor. And that's it. I just want to make sure Database Boy doesn't get mad at me. Like, you didn't show my...
It's a very modern thing to kind of like introduce a character, develop a character just to kill them off so that you feel sympathetic about it. And I often, like, I don't like the fact that they did this to a certain character in Discovery. I find it cheap. But ironically, I like it here. Like, I feel attached to Lee Kelso, and so it has more impact when they kill him.
Interesting. We do have Trekker Prize in the house, so yellow to Trekker Prize. And now it's time to give the rating. So as per tradition, I will go first, and I absolutely give this episode a 10. I just adored the heck out of it.
Wait, no Picard has gone before.
Damn.
We're
here already? We're at the 10s?
Where no rating has gone before. And by the way, just so you know, if Trekker Prize was on discussion, he would have given it a 10 as well. So cheers to that.
You can't count that in your... I know you're going to count that later on.
I might count that. So whoever wants to go next with their rating, go ahead.
I'm gonna give it a 7. It's a very good episode. Like I said, I think the supporting parts are really good. The supporting characters, the ideas, being tempted with godlike powers and all that. I mean, it's a very common theme, especially in Star Trek with Q and with everything, and I think they did a pretty good job with it. And
do you guys consider the TNG first episode a pilot as well, or just a first episode?
Well,
a pilot.
A pilot is when like you're trying to pitch it to a network or to a studio to greenlight production or buy a season. Like the first episode of Lower Decks will not be a pilot because they greenlit the 2 seasons before production. So,
and was that how TNG was? Was TNG like that?
TNG was pitched.
TNG was pitched, so that was a pilot.
So that was the pilot encounter at Farpoint. Oh,
yeah.
Interesting. So the 2 pilots have very similar themes also, which it's really neat.
Okay, can I point out 2 other similarities? Is that in the opening of Where No Man Has Gone Before, they mention Deneb 4. That's the setting of Encounter at Farpoint. That's where Farpoint Station is Deneb 4.
Holy shiitake effing mushrooms.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
You're
Deneb
kidding.
4. No.
That's
Deneb
deep.
4?
I just got goosebumps, Father. I didn't know that. And look, and Sean obviously did too, because I saw his reaction.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
This is what happens when you're a professional on your show. You learn.
It's true. Father is... You're the man now, dog. For real.
Okay,
wow,
explain it
cool.
to me again. Deneb 4 that were...
So
they mention it in the opening of this episode. They mentioned Deneb 4.
They mention it. Okay, all right. And that's
so the
where...
Bandai workers were there, everyone from on Deneb 4, and like later on they capture the jellyfish and turn it into a...
Not to be confused with Deneb 5, that also gets mentioned multiple times in Star Trek. But the other
Denebs.
The other connection between Where No Man Has Gone Before and Encounter at Farpoint is those front two consoles in front of the captain's chair are reversed in both episodes. And where No Man Has Gone Before, you have the helmsman on the right and the navigator on the left. And then every episode after that, they correct it. And then in Encounter at Farpoint, they have Data at the ops station on the right and the helmsman on the left. And after that, they switched that one.
Wow.
So they made
Oh
the
my
mistake
gosh.
twice.
Yeah.
Or did it on purpose? Maybe they did it on purpose. Who knows? That was
That's
some real
funny.
deep knowledge there. That's
That
very cool.
is. That's cool.
Knowledge.
What's your rating?
I'll give it a 6.5.
6.5.
I don't know why I tend to go
6.5.
a little bit lower than you.
It's because it's a shadow. You can't
Yeah.
can't give them a 7.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it was a fun episode, good
What?
watch, but it didn't inspire me.
Why?
There's not like a lot to talk about. I mean, I'm happy that Kirk didn't
I
hang
make
out with
sense.
anybody, but
Wow.
I just was not inspired.
So we have a 10, a 7, and a 6.5 so far, and several audiences chiming in, and feel free to keep chiming in, audience, with your ratings. I don't know if we'll count them, though, but we'll try. Who's going to go? Father, you want to go next?
Oh, I hate giving numerical ratings and stuff. I'd rather just have like an hour-long conversation about what we all thought about it.
I love it.
If I had to rate it, I guess I would give it 8.047 Esper rating.
I love it. Yes.
Oh wow!
Yes.
Almost
Ta-
an 8.05.
Take us out, number one. Take us out on with your rating.
I give it an 8, which is the exact same rating as The Cage. I give them both 8s. I think it's just that I have a personal preference for this one, but I think they're both very competently made episodes.
Excellent. Really nice. Well done. So I guess the average of all these ratings, we'll
It's
just
10.
say
It's a 10.
it's a 10.
Always a 10.
It's always a 10. Guys, I had an immensely great time talking about this episode.
Doesn't even
Thank
do
you.
the real average. He just leaves it as a 10.
It's a 10.
Someone do the math. I don't have the
Database
time
boy,
for it.
do the average.
Do the average. Either way, it's a very high rating. I think we all agree that it was a very well made episode, and whether it's a 10 or a 7 or a 6.5.
Emma's going to do the average, by the way.
No,
I
my
like this.
calculator's very slow.
The average is Darmok and Jalad. That's very funny. Audience, thanks for joining us for another episode while we get the average in. Before we go, I would just like
7.
to say it's a 7.
No, hold
No.
on, hold on.
Oh.
She's doing the average.
Alright. Guys, while we figure out the average,
6.6?
It's a 6.6.
No, that's not right. I'm
That's
really
like-
bad at math.
no, we're just gonna say it's an 8, guys. Come on, let's just say it's.
Sure, let's make-
Can we all just agree that it's an 8?
What was it?
Alright.
There was
Yeah.
a
I
10.
can't math.
It was
8.
10, 7, 6.5, and yours was 8, and Father, yours. what
I
was
think
your
I
Esper
left
rating?
out my own rating. That's why it was so low.
I'll keep Father as an 8, right? All right.
Just throw me in as an 8.
Yeah, I think it just averages out to an 8. Hey, Father, you got anything to promote?
7.9?
7.9.
Seven.
We'll just say 8. Father, 1 plus 2
No,
plus 2 plus
7.9.
Father, you got anything to promote that you're doing on your channel on Tech
Sure.
Track?
Yeah. So we've just done 2 podcasts with the authors of the official guide to the animated series. Essential reading if you like the
Holy
animated series.
That's really cool.
So
I
yeah,
don't have to listen, but
we talked to Rich Shepis and Aaron Harvey and kind of went over all 22 episodes of the animated series and shared what we like about those. So that's 2 different episodes, 2 different podcast episodes. Those are available now. And tomorrow we should have our next podcast is me and Dave debriefing everyone on Star Trek Universe panel at Comic-Con at home, which
I'm
Star
so-
Trek Boy, you managed to get in there.
I did manage to get in there. Thank you. I get embarrassed. I don't know why I get so embarrassed when I talk about it, but it was so
Yeah,
amazing.
that
It was
so
like
cool.
Yeah.
it was one of the best moments of my life. By the way, we did a terrible job last night of doing a recap on the on the Star Trek Universe panel on Starfleet Boy After Dark. So I do recommend you watch it for the laughs, but we really didn't cover it at all. So I am looking forward to your recap, Father. I'm sure it's going to be
Well,
much more thorough.
hopefully it is less terrible, but that'll be available tomorrow.
It's very cool. Guys, do you got anything to promote yet?
Yes. You can check out the Milky Way Malt Shop on Facebook right now.
Yes.
It's gonna be coming out in the fall, hopefully.
It will be. Actually, there is a print version of the Milky Way Malt Shop already out, and we're working on posting the original Milky Way Malt Shop at some point, just as a placeholder until we evolve it to the next generation of the malt shop. So I'm excited about that. For those of you who don't know what the Milky Way Malt Shop is, the Dr. Humbert and I created a website way back in the 90s. It was still the 90s, I think, 1996. That was like a literary it was like a hangout for authors to post their short stories, their fiction, their fan fiction, their poetry, things like that. And we were super successful. We had like a ton of authors contributing to it, including Ruben, who's in the audience right now, and many others. So it was quite a cool endeavor. And then Francis Ford Coppola launched Zoetrope, because he saw the Milky Way Malt Shop and he was like, "Oh, I got to do this too." And then, do you remember that? You do remember that? See, he's laughing because it's true. And then he's laughing because it's true.
Hilarious.
And then we couldn't do it anymore just because life happened.
It's all Francis Ford Coppola's fault, man.
It is Francis Ford Coppola's fault.
Bastard.
And then Emma resurrected it recently as a zine, and it's so cool. I don't have my zine handy, but I wish I've shown it before.
We'll bring it for the next episode. We'll show.
Yeah, I've shown it before on
Okay.
Starfleet Boys, so we'll give you guys more updates on that. And Trek on the Tube, what do you got? What are you promoting?
Well, I'm reviewing episode 5 next week. So The Enemy Within. And I've managed to put together a little. Well, you've heard this, Starfleet Boy. You've heard the song. You've seen the clip. But
I love it. I can't wait.
I've got a musical parody coming. It's kind of in celebration of Lower Decks coming out, but it's completely unrelated to Lower Decks. It's completely TNG. And I'm happy to.
That's related.
That
that's not completely unrelated, by the way. Just pointing it out.
Oh, really?
Like Lower Decks is super tied into TNG. It's like
okay.
It's like a spin-off of TNG.
Okay, fair enough.
So
I'm releasing that probably next month, in the beginning of next month, before Lower Decks comes out. I'm kind of stressed about how people are going to react to it, but anyway.
It's very exciting. We know that Mike McMahon's a big TNG fan, so we need to get him to see it and retweet it.
Oh yeah,
agreed.
I've already done one like rap parody.
The Geordie one.
The Geordie
one. Which got
LeVar Burton said it was cool on Twitter.
Yeah,
so
he did. He did say that. That's right.
Yeah, I remember that. That was cool.
Yeah, there we
So
go.
awesome. And of course you have your reviews, and then once we catch up, you're going to line up kind of your TOS reviews with kind of like these discussions, I guess, a little bit maybe.
Well, I'll always be maybe just a bit in front, I suppose. Or maybe not actually. Maybe not, because I'll probably stop doing the original series while Lower Decks comes out. I can't handle. It's too much.
The original series is like your passion project. I get it. But also there is going to be a lot of streaming coming up in starting August 6th with Lower Decks, and then Star Trek Prodigy, I guess, when it comes out, Strange New Worlds, Discovery Season 3, and Picard Season 2. There's a lot coming up, so hopefully we'll all...
I have a question.
Yeah.
So will this slot, Saturday 3 o'clock slot, will it still remain original series or?
Yeah, so just to give, that's actually a great question. Thank you. A little channel structure update here. So Saturdays at 3 is always going to be the original series. Sometime for the next, at least whatever amount of years it takes to
No,
get
we'll just
through.
keep doing it over and over again.
It's true. Starfleet Boy After Dark is kind of like our anything goes format, and then of course there will be specials. Like I really enjoyed when we were doing short treks going on Fathery's channel and working with PJ and stuff. So there will be a lot of discussions. It may not be here on Starfleet Boy, but there will definitely be lower decks discussions. I think mainly with Trek on the Tube and anyone who wants to join.
Shared universe.
And those will go on Fridays or Sundays or some other day.
Yeah.
But this will be the TOS slot.
I'm gonna
Okay.
have weekly coverage of lower decks.
Same
If
here.
you want to not work on Fridays, so we can discuss lower decks Friday afternoons, that's great.
All right, noted number one. And on that note, audience, thank you so much for joining us today. There was a lot of cool discussion going on in the chat. I'm sorry I didn't get to everyone's comments, but we always have a tradition of signing off on one of the comments, so we'll use Trekker Prize Trek Overload comment because that is what's coming. So I really appreciate it. Anyways, live long and prosper, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.